And we are live, gentlemen. Welcome to the 73rd edition of the Red Man Group. I am your host and moderator, Donovan Sharpe. We are presented in part by the 21 convention, which is now just 12 days away. That is in less
CRM software can change.
July 18th through the 21st. The 21 convention will be in Warsaw, Poland. Tickets are still available. I'm going to be putting the link in the chat here very shortly. There's also another link in the description of this video. You can also get tickets to October's event in Orlando, which runs from October 24th to October 27th. So act now, because the earlier you buy, the more money you save. Okay, guys, today we are discussing whether or not red pill aware men should eventually turn in their player cards and settle down, or just keep adding new girls to their roster. We're also going to talk about what's next for men who have been red pill aware for years and years, guys who've been in the game for a while and decided to either settle down with one girl or just to continue to casually date. But the question is what happens when women are no longer the focal point of a man's life? That is what we will be discussing here today. But before we get started, I'm going to introduce today's esteemed panel. First, none other than Anthony Dream Johnson, the founder and CEO of 21 Studios, as well as the Red Man Group. Anthony is going to be he's going to be moderating the chat here as well. We also have John Cooper, who you can find on Facebook. I'm going to be putting his links in the chat here very, very shortly. Good to meet him. John comes to us from the UK. Is that correct? Excellent. Very good. So John is coming to us from across the pond. Next, we've got DDJ, a.k.a. Bob Lewis, the author of the world-renowned book, The Feminist Fly. You guys be sure to check that out on Amazon or anywhere else. Next up is Robbie Kramer, a.k.a. Robbie K, comes to us from Kyiv, Ukraine. I think that's how they say it in Kiev, correct?
Yeah, the Ukrainians say Kyiv and the Russians say Kiev. So
Perfect.
either one's
I
good.
know what, Ukrainians don't really like Russians too much. Is that still the case or no?
On the western side of Ukraine, it's more like Ukrainian, and in the eastern side, and also in Kiev, the capital, everyone's pretty pro-Russia, at least the language anyways.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, listen, don't get it twisted. I'm not I dated one Ukrainian girl when I lived in Vegas. She got the better of me. I thought I was her boyfriend, but I was the side dude. She was actually dating somebody else at the time. But all that I know about Ukraine was because of her. So,
Yeah, some of the Ukrainian girls are kind of nationalistic, but
yes,
when it comes down to it, they're all former Soviet, and they get along if you make them.
Good stuff. Next, of course, is my man, Steve the Dean Williams. You guys can follow him on Twitter at The Man Mindset. TheManMindset.com is his website. And, of course, last but not least, the boy Donovan Sharpe. I'm on the air Monday through Fridays on YouTube at 12 Eastern, on Patreon Monday through Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Gentlemen, good morning. How are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Yeah, ramping up for Poland. I leave in just a couple days, about 5 days from now.
Excellent.
So final stint here, final runway.
Are you excited about Poland? What any last minute changes?
Yeah, I mean, we're going through the workshops, fleshing out the schedule and stuff like that for speaking, and the workshops which are new. You saw Patriarch, you did one yourself, and Steve Williams and stuff. So that's going on. But more than that, just getting the gear together, getting the team together, getting fucking amped up. Final flights here and there, hotel shit, all that. But I'm excited, man. We haven't been to Europe with the convention in a long time, since 2012, when Robbie was actually the host. He was the MC of our last European convention in 2012, London. I met John Cooper there as well. He came by with some of the speakers that he knew at the time.
Excellent.
So yeah, fuck yeah.
Good stuff. So I'm going to go to John. John, give us sort of an update or an introduction as to who you are. A lot of people, myself included, I met you minutes ago. Sort of give us a brief rundown, Reader's Digest, in terms of who you are, what you're about, website, etc.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so yeah, my name is John Cooper. I have a website called artofsocial.co. I've been a coach for 9 years now, coming on 10 years. I started off a bit brokenhearted. I kind of went straight down into the game route and using all pickup techniques to try and get laid. I thought that's what I needed at the time. And I went deeper down that rabbit hole. And then I actually realized a lot of this was a lot of my outward expressions were coming from low self-esteem at the time. And when I started to develop that, I started to develop a new kind of mindset around women, which was more about being a social artist rather than a pickup artist. Right. And it was bringing back the essence of what an artist is, as opposed to an artisan. So I talk about an artisan being someone that engineers a conversation, engineers an interaction, like an artisan would design a piece of furniture or sort of something like, a garden fence or something, whereas an artist just expresses how they want to express, and they don't care upon the response of the recipient of that, whoever looks at that piece of art. So by sort of adopting those principles of the artist, I actually found that I was able to connect better with women and be more attractive around women as well, because it showed that I didn't need a result from them, because the artist doesn't need you to like them.
Right.
So I developed what I call social heartists, and that was like a philosophy that I created, and it was just about encouraging guys to see the social world in a different way than the pickup artist, taking more of this artist approach. So I've been doing that for like the last 5 years on my own, solo. Traveled around numerous countries, coaching men and women. I hold workshops in Sweden where I have, they're called tantric dating workshops, where I have 20 men and 20 women, and they just basically go into a barn and they just, they get it on. And yeah, that's pretty crazy actually. It's like no holds barred in that room. So, but the idea is just like, just like bringing masculine and feminine desire together in a room, basically.
John Cooper making love great again.
Exactly. in a cheeky way. So that's it. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I met Anthony 2012 when he came to, as he said, when he came to London, did the convention there. I'm going to be talking at the convention. I'm going to be doing hopefully an hour and just showing guys how to come from this place of, instead of going out looking for women, which is kind of what this podcast is about, right? Instead of going out there with the sole intention to chase girls, look for girls, it's about how can you show up from a place of just express yourself outwardly, and whether or not the women vibe with you or not, you haven't lost anything, because the purpose, the outcome was just to basically shine on people. And when you actually come from that, you are way more attractive anyway. And people used to say to me when we used to go out, they used to say, John, how come all the girls are around you and not us? I said, because I'm the only one not doing game in the room. And that was kind of a bit of a mind fuck for a lot of people. But like when I explain it, I actually show that by kind of detaching from the outcome from women, but still taking action with women, that is like the ultimate yin yang. That's actually where you become like your maximum charge, your highest attractive potential. So I'm going to be showing that at the 21 convention. It's 10 years in the making of material. So I'm really looking forward to unleashing that in Warsaw.
Good.
Yeah.
Give us your website one more time.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of stumbled over it, didn't I? It's www.artofsocial.co.
.co. Excellent.
Yeah, couldn't quite afford the .com, but .co it is. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. I got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Got Art of Social. Excellent. DDJ, you've had a very interesting fortnight. It's been a couple of weeks since you've been on the show. What have you been up to?
A lot of research, in case you couldn't tell from my last two videos. I like having my facts straight. I like being able to do the homework and to dive down into the reality of certain situations that I talk about. So I've got a lot of stuff I've been doing behind the scenes. I've also been doing some traveling. So like from the time that I made my last video till now, I was traveling right after that, probably for about 4 days, 5 days, something like that. And so now I'm working on a few other things. I've got a couple new Her Stories I'm going to be putting out, which is part of my Her Story series. I'm also going to be going back and touching on my Elizabeth Warren, a video that I talked about making. I just got caught up in this other last minute thing that I thought was important to discuss, and really just looking at the reality of the manosphere. The other thing that I'm working on as well that I think is important is this idea that we as men should not be politically active in our sphere. One of the reasons, in my view, that the manosphere is we're kind of the underdog, right? I mean, in Western countries, men are discriminated against, and there's actually studies out that prove this now. But part of the reason that men got discriminated against so badly is because men were not involved politically. Men allowed these laws to get passed. They were duped into doing some of these things, into white knighting for some of these things that were coming up. And now we're in a situation where, the manosphere is coming back into prominence, especially with Trump's presidency.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
A lot of these male spaces that are coming back. You've got things like the Proud Boys. You have free speech rallies, constitutional rallies, things like that. These things are all important. But there are people within the manosphere that are basically telling men to cripple themselves. And what I mean by that is that we as men need to be politically active. And I don't just mean voting. I mean paying attention to the political dialogue. When it comes to people who support the welfare state, when it comes to people who support open borders, when it comes to people who oppose our constitutional rights, whether they be the constitutional right to due process, to free speech, or the right to bear arms, we need to be speaking out against those things as men, just like we speak out against feminist bigotry, and just like we speak in favor of making men more masculine so that they can have better lives. So I think that those things are important as well. It's part of being an adult. And it doesn't matter if you're in the United States or you're outside the United States, whatever country you're in, you should be, as an adult male, politically motivated to put your best foot forward, to act in your self-interest, not only in your self-interest, but in the self-interest of the men around you. And I think that's a real big issue, where we see that, like I said, there are people out there, and I'm not going to name names here, but there are people out there that are actively telling men, don't be political.
Right.
I mean, that's like saying, don't use your dick, sit in the corner and cry and masturbate while your woman fucks her bull, right? That's really what that is. And the reality is that, nobody on this panel has time for hashtag Cuck Lives Matter. We're all masculine men. We all have healthy levels of testosterone. And to tell men to cuck themselves by not being politically active or being politically responsible, that just violates kind of like the man code. That's like telling men not to budget, right? Go spend outside your means and go buy stuff that you don't need, you don't want, or that are poor investments, and go from there. I mean, part of the Red Man Group is talking about making, investments in your life, investments in your attitude, investments in your health, investments in your abilities socially, and all those things to improve our lives. So why wouldn't we talk about these types of things as well? Because that's an aspect that's important. And I'll tell you, it's extremely effective, because the feminists did it, and now we're 45 years under feminist control, and here we are. Yeah. So those are kind of the things that I'm kind of focusing on, the kind of the direction that I'm taking. Because again, I don't think that necessarily like we shouldn't be MRAs. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that just like we as men have a budget, we that we live under, we have responsibilities that we have in our lives. I think that being politically active is one of those responsibilities as men. That's all I'm.
If I can tag on to DDJ here too, like you mentioned the MRAs, if you look at the manosphere in total, it's like a couple million men between the pickup artist community, the red pill community, the MGTOW community, the men's rights. Each one is a couple 100,000 or more men involved with it. And not everyone is a part of each like tribe. Some people just don't give a shit. They're focused on one or two and don't give a shit about the others. But there's a reason that all of them exist. There's a reason the MGTOW stuff exists, whether you approve of it or not. There's a reason the red pill community exists, whether you like it or not. There's a reason the pickup artist community started, the seduction community, rose to prominence and still exists.
Right.
And there's a reason the men's rights community exists, even if you're not out fucking at their conferences or whatever the fuck they do and holding picket signs and shit. There's a reason that shit formed. There's a reason it exists, and there's a reason we need to respect and probably get along with them and figure out what to do, or get involved in our own way that matters and it's effective, just like DDJ is talking about. So yeah, I think it's ridiculous to dismiss the MRAs and stuff, even if like I criticize them openly sometimes, but I respect that they exist and that there's a reason they exist.
Listen, they make a lot of good points, and to DDJ's point is you have to be involved because you have skin in the game. To have skin in the game and then sit on the sideline, that makes about as much sense as going and buying a steak and then not grilling it. I don't know.
This is why with the convention, I tried to do the best I can with managing these different groups, these different competing interests, these different speakers, these different tribes and stuff, because I think they're all important. They all need a voice. They all need to get it out there, and then figure out what we can do with it, what actions can be taken, what speeches need to be given, what events, what podcasts, all these things. There's a lot of shit going on. And like DDJ mentioned too, feminists are very politically active. Yeah. The manosphere, a lot of the manosphere is kind of like, tepid with politics. Feminists are fucking gung-ho. They've been gung-ho for decades and like a century now. Politics, laws, legislation, judges, all the state laws, governors, all these fucking things. Even the presidency, they tried to install their own little feminist fucking queen in the presidency, and it blew up in their face. Thank God.
Yeah, well, and the final thing that I'd like to touch on too is that I think it's an important thing that Anthony stated, where he said, there's a couple million guys across the manosphere in different tribes. That's only the stated numbers. That's not the unstated numbers. So like in the MGTOW community, we have what's called stated MGTOW, and then we have what's called unstated MGTOW. So the stated MGTOW community might be 150,000 people, but there's probably 10 or 15 million men across the globe that are living that particular lifestyle in the lifestyle as I describe it.
Right.
I'm not talking about incels here.
Sure.
But at the same token, when you talk about pickup artists, when you talk about, you know, guys that are doing dating coaching, when you're talking about game, when you're talking about the guys who are working on fitness and things like that, for every subscriber each one of us has, there are 10 or 15 guys who watch our content who follow us. They're just not subscribed. They're just not stated numbers.
Right.
So, I mean, and all of us have videos where we have a couple 100,000 views, but we don't, you know, don't necessarily have, with the exception of Anthony in this group, you know, not all of us have, you know, a couple 100,000 subs, but we do have those people watching and paying attention. So even though the voices are kind of lurking in the shadows, so to speak, those guys are paying attention to everything that we do.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think those are the guys, who put, not to make this political, but those are the guys who put Trump in the White House. My girlfriend actually called it on election night. She called it the unsilent majority, or the silent majority, rather. Let's move to Steve the Dean Williams. Steve, what have you been up to? What are you working on, and what's next?
Same old same, man. Just kicking off the show here on Mondays, the Red Pill Mindset, and then my Tuesday show. But I think the only thing we have that we just put out a few days ago, we had a guy call into the radio show who was messing with a woman, messing with some chick, and he wanted to smash her sister. So what we did was we got it live on air. We called him. I told him what to say. He started talking that yak to her ass. He bossed the fuck up, and she was down. So we got the sister too. So
damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got the sister too. But other than that, man, just getting ready for Poland, man, and that's about it, big dog.
Less than 2 weeks away. All right, guys. All right, let's stop the circle jerk. Let's get right into it. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because a few years ago, Roosh was actually here at my place a couple nights ago. I'm actually going to be hanging out with him here in downtown Philly tonight for his talk. He did a talk with a longtime writer for Eternity Kings, Quintus Curtius, and I think it was their culture war chat. And right around the 25-minute mark, Roosh he said something that really got me thinking. He says, quote, "I thought that the end goal for men was basically this, just to chase a lot of girls. But suddenly, almost like in the last couple of years, I've been unable to keep it up." He continues. He said, "I'm coming to the conclusion that chasing girls, a lifestyle that many guys who read me, is a stage. I honestly thought I would be 60 years old in the shopping mall asking girls where the pet shop is. I'm not even 36 at the time, and I can't even tolerate a nightclub." Now, me personally, those statements really struck a chord with me, because I know that at some point in my life, I'm not going to be able to pull high sexual market value girls, no matter what my game level is, right? Now, yes, there are exceptions to the rule. The recently passed away Hugh Hefner, despite being as old as dirt, he's still able to fuck the hottest, tightest, youngest blondes on the planet. But we all know that Hugh Hefner's fortune and his very industry, that really gave him unlimited access to high quality girls until he eventually died. But now the question becomes, what about the everyday guys out here like us on the panel who don't have seven-figure bank accounts, who don't have celebrity status? Every man on earth has sexual desires until the day he dies. Now, obviously, age and testosterone levels, whether they're natural or synthetic, play a role in the degree and the intensity of those desires, but they are there nonetheless. So what is, and we're going to get everybody's opinion on this, what do men do when we, quote unquote, hit the proverbial wall? What is the decision? Do we stop chasing girls? Do we settle down? Anthony, I'm going to start with you, because you're nowhere near the point where I'm at. There's a 12-year age gap between us. What is your mindset? Have you ever thought about what your life would be like post being a salt daddy, post seeking arrangement?
Yeah, my buddies call me Orlando's #1 stepdaddy. And salt daddy and stepdaddy. Yeah, I don't even do that all the time. I go through like these 6 month, 12-month stints where they do pick a certain type of girl. It's like hone in on that. Sugar babies, the single moms, shit like that. So the first thing that came to mind though with the chasing girls thing forever and whatnot is actually one of our old speakers. He's actually like one of our biggest speakers we've ever had, Brent Smith. He spoke in 2014 and 2016. And his first talk has like 1.5 million views. So it's huge on the channel. It's like the second or third biggest talk we've ever had. The talk is, you never have to chase women again. I think I'm stating it right. And he was the first guy who introduced to me the concept, because in my pickup artist days, when I was much more aggressive at going out, cold approaching like thousands of times, it was crazy. The idea that you didn't have to chase women, and in fact that it could be counterproductive if you adapted a different mindset, was really fascinating to me. And for a long time, I focused in on that, and it was bewildering to see it in action. Looking back on it, though, it's very similar to what I've seen Cobra Tate talk about, one of our other panelists, and stuff like that. Cobra Tate, not chasing women, whether in the moment, in an actual cold approach, or in like a moment in your life, or over the next 20 years, it's actually a really effective way to get women pulled into your life. It's basically weaponizing attention, is what Cobra Tate calls it. And by actively not pursuing women and weaponizing your time and using it that super effective way, you pull them in constantly. I don't always do this, but it's fun to play with from time to time, because it really reminds you of just how fluid sexual and social interactions can be. Right. You can do almost anything if you have the congruent frame for it and the balls to fucking pull it off. Just speak your mind, speak your fucking soul. But in terms of after the the salt babies and shit like that, I mean, fuck. I mean, I want to build a family, flat out. I've said that before. I want to do it Tanner Guzzi style, 100%. If I can find I know it's children are not cheap. Steve, I'm sure, could tell you that. Steve the Diener. He has 5 or 6 kids or some shit.
Raw dog lives matter.
Raw dog lives matter. He got snipped eventually. Fucking, he was like, but yeah, I have no problem with building a family. I have no problem with that kind of life. Whether or not you need to be exclusive as a man, the woman definitely needs to be. As a man, though, I don't even know if you have to be. I mean, most women are probably going to want to demand that, but if you have the value and the frame for it, I don't think you have to. And I know one of our speakers, I'm not going to name names. It's very private, but he does that. He has several children with this woman. She's Ukrainian, and she's 100% with him, okay, getting strange on the side. Now, why is that? Well, they have specific rules, because it's important to him, first of all. Second of all, they have specific rules for it. And really it revolves around, for him, and I could do this in the future if it matters to me. I don't know yet if it will, given my age. But they have specific rules for it. And one of them, they center around basically emotional attachment. So basically, he can do whatever he wants as long as he comes home at night. Right. He can't be sleeping overnight. He can't be developing emotional attachments with these women. And why is she okay with that? Well, first of all, she's Ukrainian, so she's dope as fuck. She's hot, and she's old school. Second, she knows what's important. She wants the babies, which she's getting, right? They're legitimately, obviously, her babies. She's getting the wealth and the support, the provisioning, and the protection and stuff. And then he goes out and gets to be an alpha male, and that drives her fucking nuts in the head, right? It drives a hamster through the roof. It fucking literally, she probably jerks off to it when he's out fucking other girls. And then on top of that, she gets dicked. So my life in the future could be like that. I think most people would assume I'm going to do that. Hypnotica does something like that too. He doesn't have kids, but he has a wife and stuff like that. And then he runs a fucking strip club, right? And Tate obviously has a girlfriend for I think 6 years now, Cobra Tate. And he's like, yeah, just do whatever I want. She knows that's what I'm going to be Tate and keep doing him. I don't know if I'll end up doing that or not. I'm kind of indifferent to it. So I'll play to my values and I'll keep experimenting over time. But yeah, I'd love to just build a fucking huge family. Kind of like Connor Juice talked about, Conan style, a bunch of fucking kids running around and shit. And I've even thought about, kind of old school Mormon stuff, having multiple wives using private marriage. Yeah, Warren style. Yeah, exactly. I don't think I'm actually going to do that, but I've seriously considered that though, because I could definitely, if I wanted to, I think I could pull that off someday. But is it worth the fucking hassle and all that shit? I think it's more fun on paper than it would be in real life.
Oh, listen, I'll put it to you like this. I've given my 10 commandments, and we're going to get to Robbie in just a second, but my 10 side chick commandments, I've got plenty of those. The number one commandment is just don't get caught, right? If your value is high enough, your woman knows that you are probably getting strained on the side, but as long as you don't throw it in her face, then she's going to be okay with it. It's plausible deniability. What she doesn't see, what she doesn't know can't hurt her. And I'll use O.J. Simpson. The reason why Nicole Brown ended up going and fucking Marcus Allen is she knew that OJ was fucking other girls. He's OJ fucking Simpson, but he kept rubbing it in her face. So she finally just said, hey, you know what? Devin, you want to keep it down in there, please? But he kept. That's
a hell of an OJ quote.
Finally, she took exception. She's like, you know what? I'm going to fuck the younger, better OJ. She fucked Marcus Allen. And OJ allegedly chopped her head off. But here are the 4 rules here before we get to Robbie. If you're ever going to have a side chick, if you're ever going to have that kind of arrangement, just make sure that you don't get caught. Don't catch any STDs. Don't give STDs to your girls. Don't stay overnight. Don't fuck the side chick at your place, and you don't get anybody pregnant. As long as you prevent those few things from happening, you should be good to go. Robbie, what are your thoughts on what Anthony just said in terms of having sort of a harem? Because again, that would be the ultimate dream, right? Okay, I turned to my player card. I've got the wife and the kids, but giving me permission to get strange. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's why I'm in Ukraine. Literally, I've been here for about a year and a half, and the reason why I came and moved out here is I met the guy who was running all the basically Russian and Ukrainian Playboy trips. He invited me on a trip for his birthday. It was like 120 girls, 30 guys, and then from there I was coaching, and basically I've been in the manosphere since I guess 2006, 2007, and he was complaining to me. He's like, listen, I've got all these girls, all Ukrainian Playboy models. We're doing these trips, and my buddies can't pay for it. And I don't want to pay for the whole thing myself. So I was like, dude, I've got a bunch of friends and clients and other guys who would love this sort of exposure, who'd love to come on these trips. So we partnered up, and we started doing these crazy trips with a bunch of Playboy models. It was typically 3-to-1 ratio, which I find is right about the golden ratio. And, it's really unfeminized women, obviously, from Eastern Europe, and they love the competition. These trips are insane. Like, I can't even begin to tell you. If you check out my Instagram, you can see a bunch of photos. I'll put it in the chat. But since I've been living in Ukraine, it's been all social circle sort of seduction, you could say. And because the women they're constantly seeing you with other women, they just get used to it and they're okay with it. And they just assume that's just that's how you roll. That's the way you do things. And that's the way you live your life, and it turns them on. I've got a girl sitting across from me right now who could chime in and talk about it even.
Dude, I've had Robbie do interviews and had nude women walking around in the background. I'm like, oh, fuck. Anyway.
Robbie, still there?
My headphones here.
Oh, there he is. All right.
You guys hear me?
Robbie gets his while Robbie gets his webcam and everything situated. John, let me bring you in here. What are your thoughts on what men do? And we're going to get to this question a little bit later. Do men hit the wall? But what are your thoughts on having sort of having the best of both worlds, doing the Warren Jeffs, one wife, multiple wives, multiple kids, et cetera, et cetera? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't think it's quite the false dichotomy of just stop chasing or settling down. I think there's a lot of play that can be had in between. When I was living in Budapest, I lived in Budapest for about a year and a half, and I was dating some girls, and I dated some more girls, and then before I know it, I was seeing 12 girls at a time, and I thought this was like the pinnacle of living, But then what was happening was that every night I was going out, and then you have a bottle of wine or you have a few drinks. I was turning into an alcoholic. I was looking haggard. I was feeling like shit. And I actually realized that the next high from that, I was like, what can be the next high from this? And it was actually just to dump the girls for a while, just because I couldn't handle it. I just didn't want to have to go out with any girls. So it's almost like I kind of went 180 on that. And then I started to look for something else, which was a bit more balanced. And then I started to see a girl for a little while, more of a committed thing. And then that didn't work out because I needed a little bit more of my freedom. And then I started to go be a little bit more sociable again and see girls in a more sporadic way. So for me, it's just, I don't know, I kind of go through waves of maybe settling down for a bit and then going a bit wild and then maybe settling down again. And that's the same with when I travel. I like to live in a city for about a year. I love that. And then I need to go and blitz loads of cities at once. Then I come back and I live in a city again. So for me, it's not a static state of either stopping looking for goals or settling down. I kind of go spirals, if you like. I kind of come back to the same point, and then I go out again and do something a little bit more wild, and I come back again. So I don't see it as a black or white thing. I think there's a lot of fun that can be had in the middle.
It's almost like it's cyclical, right? You go through stages.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I think that's true for a lot of things, not just women or dating, but in work and even fitness. Sometimes you go, do you know what? Look at those guys, they're pumping muscles. I don't need to do that. I've done all that. And then a year later, you might be like back in the gym again, like pumping iron and going, I can't believe those guys that are not in the gym. What are they doing? So I find that we tend to sort of spiral around. You know, we go to kind of extremes and then we kind of like come back into balance again. And it is cyclical. Yeah. It's cyclical. Yeah.
Excellent.
For me.
Quick, let me ask you a question before we go back to Robbie, because Robbie fixed his mic problems here. Cool. I say this all the time. Everybody wants to be fucking 7 girls until they're actually fucking 7 girls, right? Like, listen, we're all dating coaches or whatever, quote unquote. And one of the most prevalent questions that I get on a regular basis is, Donovan, I want 4 or 5 9s and 10s I can fuck at the same time, blah, 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 blah. But what people don't realize, that shit's a full-time job. Right? You gotta stick, dude. You have to stick your dick in all of these chicks at least once a week. Otherwise, they're gonna ghost on you and find someone else who's gonna bang them out at least once a week. Talk about your experience with sleeping with 12 girls at once. I'm sure it has his highs and lows, but it's not all it's cracked up to be all the time.
No, because that's the thing. Like at one point, I'm thinking, well, I'm dating 3 girls. What's the next high? It's like go out and like find some more girls. And then I was like, with more girls, and it's like, okay, let's get some more girls. And then at that point, you think like the ultimate like high is just to like date infinite amount of women and sleep with infinite amount of women.
So you're running out of juice.
I mean, yeah, and then it just got to the point where I was dating all these girls, and it actually felt like a chore. It felt like going to work. It felt like waking up and like setting my alarm for 6 a.m. and then getting up and doing like a 9 to 5. And I was just like,
I gotta bang this.
And I just went, do you know what? Do you know what I'd really like? It's like to not see any girls and just have a time out. And that was actually like the next high, like I spiraled into that again. So, I mean, a lot of guys will look at that and think, why would you, that seems like the heaven, like seeing all these girls. But trust me, man, it's like going out and having to like do it all again, go out for drinks, like take them all out. It's high maintenance. It is high maintenance,
Yeah. Yeah. If I can vouch for John too, I've heard from some of my other speakers that know him and this guy Ratisse that Cooper's actually like on Ratisse's level, which is crazy. Like Ratisse is the best guy I've ever seen with game. Like he's absolutely fucking nuts. He's fucked like 800 women or something stupid at this point. And I've heard that John Cooper's like this English version of Ratisse, but he's like so mellow. But yeah, I don't doubt this for a second. Specifically though, because of the comments I've heard with Ratisse and the guys I know that vouch for John too.
Well, again, you can always tell the guys who are not who they say they are and the guys who really have experience. Listen, you're never going to hear me or anyone else say, hey, banging multiple girls, it's all bad. No, there are definite advantages to this. But again, it all works in theory. It all works on paper until you actually do it. And you wake up one day, you're like, you know what? I'm dating 4 girls at the same time, and this is great. But goddamn, this really isn't all peaches and cream. Robbie, you've got your microphone all settled up. If you wanted to jump back in and continue your thought.
For sure. So basically my transition from being like a hunter, going out and picking up chicks all the time, to more of this social circle thing was I found that, I could have a harem. I could be, dating 5 or 6 girls at a time, but it was a lot of work, as you guys are fully aware of, shitload of work. And then depending on how you meet them, you have to manage, like, do they find out about each other? There's all this work you have to do. It's a full-time fucking job doing that. And what I found is a better strategy is basically what I do now is I've got a few girls that I see, or if I have one girlfriend at the time, what I'll do is I'll go on trips with my friends. And we'll do these crazy trips. We'll bring a few girls. We'll bring a couple guys and a bunch of girls with us. And it'll be for maybe a week. And I'll have my fun. I'll go out, get crazy. And then I'll come back and have more of a normal lifestyle. And I found that really allows me to get all that crap out of my system.
Right.
While still having, the kind of like wifey at home. And as long as I'm doing maybe one trip every, 2 months, I find that to be a pretty good mix.
Good. Excellent. Well said. Steve, what are your thoughts? Because Steve, you've been married. See, Steve has experienced both lives, never simultaneously as far as I know. Steve used to be a gigolo, but now he is happily married, 23 years. He's got 78 kids. Life is great. So, Steve, what are some of the parallels, if you will, between living life as a gigolo and living life as a family man? Obviously, they're 2 very different lives, but there are some similarities. And here's a better question. Are there ever times you miss being a gigolo?
No, I don't miss that, man. No, I don't miss that at all. But, when I was taught in the 80s and stuff, when everything was in black and white, we was never about pussy. That was the main thing we were being taught as far as the game. It was all about time. It was about my time an issue worthy of it. You know, it was what a woman could do for me. You know, picking up women is an easy thing, but making them do things that women do to guys was the fun challenge that we would do. So it wasn't just about picking up the woman. It was like having that one woman. We had our cook woman, our dinner woman, the one that would cook dinner for us. We wanted to call her up. The one that would give us a massage. The one that would cook us breakfast in the morning. The football woman where I'd have my boys come over. She would cook for all of them. Then I'd smash her at halftime. So, you know, like, and as far as the gigolo thing, doing the gigolo thing after the orgies, the threesomes, fucking women while their husbands watched and all the other stuff. I mean, you just get tired of it because the names change, but the bodies stay the same. So, you know, I got tired of the holidays. You know, they want, you know, the ones that want to spend time with you on your birthday. They cry about Christmas. They want to spend time with you on Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, and all the other stuff. So, what I decided on doing when I was 27, because 27, 28, I was ready to start a family. Because I'm so arrogant, cocky, and conceited. I wanted to keep not only keep my bloodline going, but my legacy going. So I got out the game. The reason I got out because some of these women, you know, they don't keep, you know, their husbands started knocking on the door. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, but you know, other than that, but no, I got out because I wanted to start a family, man. I wanted to push my bloodline and my legacy beyond me. So after I had all my fun, I mean, I've been fucking since 13. So you know, once I had all my fun, I mean, I did just about everything. I wanted kids and do the thing as the bloodline, man. That's all I did, bro.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. John is going to have to leave us. He's got, I think he's got some other plans. John, listen, man. Any last words for the audience before you get out of here?
Yeah, and I'll just say to all the guys listening, there's something really, really powerful when you get a group of, a room full of men together to support each other, to basically listen to each other's stories, accounts, problems, issues. There's not enough of men's spaces, basically, and especially not enough that actually, let's say, that are not hit with the soy boy stick. You know, it's very rare to find nice masculine groups like this. Where people can come and not be indoctrinated into sort of feminist ideology, which is what's happening to a lot of men's groups at the moment. So to all my followers, to all the followers of Red Man Group and 21 Convention, just come down, come to Warsaw, check me out. I've got a lot I have to say about like advancing beyond the game paradigm. And you've got a lot of cool speakers here, a lot of cool dudes. Get to hang out with us. And I'm looking forward to actually catching up with everyone. So thanks for having me on, guys. And I will be seeing you in Warsaw. Dzień dobry, comrades.
Yeah, man. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks. All right. That's John. I put his Facebook and his website in the chat. I'll also make sure we put that in the comment section if you guys want to know where to get a hold of him. All right, let's move here to DDJ. DDJ, let me get your take on, because you have my guess that you probably have a different take on this. You have been through,
well, you know, as a virgin that lives in my mom's basement covered in Cheeto dust, you know,
all that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What does DDJ think? I don't want to call it the pinnacle, but after you've sown your wild oats, after you've lived the player life, what, as far as DDJ is concerned, is living that good life?
Well, let me kind of say this too. So, like, you know, I was born in 1970, and so I know a little bit about what Steve's talking about, you know, that kind of that game in the 80s and that type of thing. And it's interesting because one of the things that I don't hear a lot about, except for what Steve says, and this is something that I talk about all the time, and that is that time is a non-renewable resource. So the point is that if she doesn't bring anything of value to the table, then why are you spending time with her, right? And so that was my attitude before I ever hooked up with either one of my two wives, was like, look, you got to take care of me, right? You have to do what I need for you to do, or else I got no time for you, because there's three others down the fucking road.
Right.
And that's the reality. See, that's the thing that people don't understand. Even in 2019, with feminism everywhere, right? Women who are entitled, women who are high maintenance, you fucking ghost them and you move on with your fucking day. You got better things to do, right? It's like a car lot, right? Women walk on the car lot, they're looking to buy a car, and you're going to find out whether or not she's really down to fuck, or she's just playing for the foreplay game. So, you know, again, with the car lot analogy, do they have good credit? Are they able to buy the car? Are they willing to close the deal? Right?
Good.
Right?
Very good.
If they're not willing to close the deal, I got shit to do. And that's my attitude today. And then don't get me wrong. I'm not super fit or anything like that. I'm not ugly, but I'm not super fit. But let me tell you something, almost 50 years old, I look around and when I get a little bit horny where I need to get laid or whatever, I look around and I can see somebody who's interested in me and go, okay, I'm going to go hit that. And then I'll move on with my day. But the point is that you want low maintenance and you want to make her earn you. If she's going to sit there and she's going to demand a bunch of shit from you all the time, ghost her. Time is a non-renewable resource and you are not getting any return on your investment. So, and frankly, this should be at any age. I mean, guys are talking about how they're going out and they're getting laid. And obviously at some level, the stuff that I do, and have done as a young man, some of that's considered game, I guess. But it's not something that I come from a completely outsider perspective when it comes to PUA.
Okay.
But the attitude that I've always had was that 80s, 90s attitude. You got to bring it to me and you got to show me what's up if I'm going to spend any time with you, because it's like that old rap song. You thinking lobster, I'm thinking Burger King. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's real. That's absolutely real. And so, and again, there's no question of anything else. And it's like, if you're not monogamous with this woman and she's talking about other women, well, you know what? That's not her business. That's nobody's business. That's your business, yours and them and everything else. Right. So at the end of the day, the thing is that number one, what men don't realize is this: at any age, if you are a man who is trying to improve yourself, you will never have to chase women. Feminism has created a promiscuity culture for the last 40 years where pussy is a low-hanging fruit. And they all want it. And it's not a question of day game versus night game or going to the club or whatever. I mean, I've never online dated, but I've never been in a position where I couldn't get laid. You find these women at the grocery store. You find these women at happy hour. You find these women wherever you're at and whatever you're doing. And so that's what I'm saying is at the end of the day, that's what you do. Because I'll tell you what, you can close the deal right there. And then you take her either your place or her place in 15 minutes or close her off and you're fucking, as it should be. And the sad part about it is there's no magic pill for this. If she's interested, she's interested. And that's the thing, is that feminism has made these women more desperate. You've made these women more aggressive. So these women, they know they have to, when you're a man with healthy level of testosterone, they know. Let me give you an example. So back in March, was it March? I think it was March. I was in Denver. And Denver's a super liberal city, okay? It's like a liberal stronghold. And whenever I would go out, I'm going to lunch or I'm going to dinner with my friends or whatever, I saw groups of men. I saw groups of women. I never saw groups of men and women unless it was a work group or they were family.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yet whenever I would look over at a woman in one of these groups, I could catch her eye and I could hold it. And I was like, okay, yeah, if I needed to move on that, I could, right? Because again, she demonstrated interest. And there were women with other men. Yeah. I'm a big fan of NWA.
Yeah, I was gonna say, listen. That's why I laughed.
yeah. I cut my teeth on rap. There's history about me that one day if I ever dox myself and I'll talk about, people be like, holy shit. Yeah. So, but that's my point, right? So but these women will show interest because when you go into places like Denver, you go into these liberal strongholds, they're full of men with low T. They're full of men who have the coiffed haircut and they've got the nice car and they've got the pressed jeans. And you can just look at them and go, yeah, that guy smoked a dozen cocks. And those women see it. They're not interested in that. They're interested in a masculine male. They're interested in hashtag raw dog lives matter. That's what they're interested in. They want the bukkake choke slam. Okay. They want you to send them to the chiropractor. They just don't want everybody knowing about it. So that's all I'm saying is don't ever chase women. Women will know what's up. Because, what Robbie said. Robbie, is that your name? Yeah, Robert. What Robbie said and what the other guy said who was here. That guy was dating 12 women at the same time.
God damn.
That's like a 60-hour-a-week job. Fuck that. I got shit to do. And I'll tell you what, my ball sack would be so empty, I'd be lucky to get erect after all that shit. Let's be real. And I'm not trying to shoot up with Viagra. I don't need it right now, but I'm like, yeah, that's all bad. Your sex is supposed to be enjoyable. It's not supposed to be a job. If I need to go get some fucking workout, I'll jump on the elliptical. Fuck.
Yeah, that was John's experience, Tim. That's exactly what he relayed. I believe it. Even 3 or 4 girls at a time. I'll see. It's just it's a lot.
It is.
Never
Dude.
mind 6 or fucking 12. Holy fuck.
Well, yeah, and I guess what I'm trying to say in closing is that when it comes to women, I don't care what age you are. If you are on your like you're taking care of yourself, you have healthy levels of testosterone. It doesn't matter if you're catching the bus or if you're rocking a Bugatti. It doesn't matter. What matters is that these women will see it and they will be interested with you and to spend time with you. And so and that's the thing is, like, for myself, I'm never going to live with a woman again, just because I've already done the marriage and divorce thing twice. I've done the long-term relationship. I was with a woman for 21 years and I was with another one for 4. I have 4 children, 2 from each one. I totally understand what that life looks like. But on the same token, and everybody had, like, I think somebody said at one point, they call it like the red pill journey. Yeah, I was blue pill at one point when I had that gynocentric blind spot. I was red pill and everything else except for my wives. I had that gynocentric blind spot. Once I recovered from that, I kind of understood it. And then it just took me a little bit of a while to learn to articulate these types of things to others. So it's like, nobody's perfect. Like, nobody was born alpha. Nobody is. I don't care what they tell you. Everybody has to learn at some point. So when it comes to chasing these women, let the women be the car lot, right? Cherry pick the women who show interest, cherry pick the women who are willing to close the deal, and ignore the rest of them, because these women will know if you're getting laid. Guys who basically don't have an empty ball sack and guys that are really hard up to get laid, women see that shit a mile away, and they avoid it like the plague.
All right, guys, we're going to open up the phone lines here in just a few minutes. 914-205-5356. That's the number to call. If you're outside of the U.S., it is 001-914-205-5356. Let's go to the next question here. I'm going to open up the phone lines here shortly. Here is the $1 million question. Do men hit the wall? We know that females hit the wall right around 30 years old. Their sexual value, or a woman's peak fertile years, burns hotter and brighter than a man's peak sexual attractiveness, but ours lasts a lot longer. We as men, we are the most sexually attractive, I would say, from age 30 all the way up until age 50. So that's a good 20. And dude, depending on your genes and habits, might even be 55 at that point. Listen, there are men who are in their 50s who regularly fuck girls in their 20s and 30s. So my question to you is do men ever hit the wall? We see guys like Hugh Hefner, who was fucking young, hot, tight blondes till the day he died. But he was the Playboy guy, right? So Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Is there a wall for men? And if so, when does it happen?
My first thought is that men, the core issue that you're grappling with in the question, in my opinion, is that, my response here is that men have a much greater degree of control over hitting the wall at some point or basically ever. Like Hugh Hefner is an extreme example, right? Like an outlier, but he's an example of, like, did he ever really hit the wall? Yeah, he got old and wrinkly and his balls were dropping or, sad, whatever the fuck, right? Slagging around. He still was banging hotter girls than, like, probably anybody here, right? Or at least as hot. I mean, he's fucking Hugh Hefner, though, right? And he's not the only one. Look at, Trump. How many fucking porn stars and strippers and XY? This guy's just been fucking killing. He's like in his 70s now. He's grandpa, right? So I think that's really what the core issue. That men and women are different.
Older than his wife.
Yeah, exactly. He's 23 or something, right? Yeah, older than his wife. One of his wife, the latest one, right? But I really think that that's the core issue, is that men and women are different. So what does that mean in this instance? That means women have a very limited degree of control. They do have some, but they have a limited degree of control. And this has been discussed in the red pill community and even the pickup artist community, I think, at a few points. Women have a limited degree of control, very limited, over their ability to hit the wall. Some of that's genetic, some of that's lifestyle choices and habits, some of that's kind of chance, all kinds of different things they can do, right? They can eat well, they can work out, they can get plastic surgery. Men, they'll have a much greater degree of control over this. Plastic surgery is something that's not an example of that. Like, men can't really do anything and they shouldn't do anything. It's fucking weird usually. There might be a few things they can do, but this is stupid. But eating well, when you age too, you're becoming more masculine. That's kind of the core issue here too. Women are most feminine when they're most fertile and they're most beautiful and the youth, right? We go after that. There's fucking reasons for that. With men though, your sperm is pretty viable for a long, long time, especially if you take care of yourself. All kinds of very fundamental stuff to your biology. And yeah, as you age, you gain wisdom, you gain experience, you gain badassery, you get your heart broken. That makes you tougher, more masculine. You go through a bit shit in your business, you go through shit in life, you see friends die, you see family die. These things make you harder and tougher and more masculine in ways that women appreciate. Women that literally makes them aroused, whether that's in the moment, heat of the moment, or kind of more like attraction cues over a relationship or something like that. So I think that's a core issue. What really the question is asking. It's not like, do men hit the wall and whatnot? It's what degree of control do men and women each have over their own face smashing into the wall. And with men, you can delay it or really prevent the impact for a long time. Yeah, you don't have to hit the wall.
Let me tack on to what you said there, Anthony, because I think you have to talk about maybe like two walls. Because for the first, you've got this. If you look at Hugh Hefner and what happened with him as he got older, he still fucked a bunch of hot girls, but his wives cheated on him basically, or they didn't have that love connection that he may have had at an earlier age, right? They saw him more as a sponsor, or they saw him more as a provider. So I think, up until maybe 55 or whatever, you can be in the game and you can fuck young hot chicks till the day you die. But you might not get that love and the affection that you want from those younger chicks because you're just too fucking old.
Right.
Yeah, if I can add on here too, if he mentioned I heard like walls, like plural. If you look at women, the 30 wall is the most infamous, right? It's like, haha, she's about to hit 30, she's no longer in her 20s. And then behind that, you have like the 35 wall. It's kind of like a more minor wall that women can hit where the wrinkles start to set in more and shit like that. That's also advanced maternity age, 35 and modern medicine. But I think if you really iron it down to the two most important walls, it's the 30 wall, I think, where they're no longer in the 20s, hot and young, at least in terms of like a baseline, like how old are you? What age are you on this fucking planet? But the real second wall is not the 35 or 40 wall. It's not even a number. It's menopause. When women lose the ability to be fertile and really they lose the ability to reproduce at that point, men don't. I guess that's the core issue here too, is that men, as long as you're even remotely fucking healthy, your sperm are still alive and kicking around to some degree, you never lose the ability to reproduce until you die. Women hit the 30 wall, which is a thing that hits affects their sexual marketplace value. The second wall, though, is when their ability to reproduce is gone. And they try to now offset this, right? They get like their eggs frozen, all this bullshit, and whatever the fuck.
That doesn't change their own sexual value.
They're just playing games with nature at that point. The reality is their ability, once they hit menopause and their eggs are fucking done, they're gone, or everything's fucking toast. That's it, man. That's the true wall for them. And from that point forward, they are no longer. That's such a fundamental life change, independent of how well they handle it. They can't stop it. At least for now, with modern medicine, no matter what they do in technology. That wall is absolutely undefeated.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas men, we don't have that. There is no hard wall except death.
Well, listen, I'll put it to you this way. You actually make a very good point. I think one of the main reasons why women, and we'll get to Steve here in just a second, I think the reason why women smash into the wall, whereas men, we just kind of gradually lean against it every once in a while. Men, the only man that I know of, the only celebrity that I know of that hit the wall hard was Dan Michael Vincent. And that's because he partied hard and did drugs. But you look at guys like Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, George Clooney, these guys, we can see that they age, but they age gracefully. Here's the point, is that when a human being loses the ability to reproduce, all of a sudden their body tells them, okay, we don't need to reproduce anymore. So there's no need in putting out the reproduction markers, the reproduction transponder. With girls, it's ample tits, the flushed skin, ample bosom, the pheromones. Well, men, we never really lose the ability to reproduce. This is why as we get older, we still have testosterone running through our veins. When women hit menopause, there's very little estrogen. They start to grow facial hair. It's almost like they not anatomically, but it's almost like they chemically start to turn into men, so much so that there are now shots that women can get out there that after they hit menopause will still help them to look and sound and smell and feel feminine. So listen, if anybody's dating a woman of an advanced age, you might want to think about that. But I think that one of the main reasons why women hit the wall so much harder than men hit the wall is because the very ability to reproduce keeps you young by nature. Steve, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was about to say A1 took all my damn thunder and shit, but but he's absolutely right. The thing is that you don't hit the wall until death. That's the truth. As a man, you got to remember, as men, we will age, but our mindset and the way we think doesn't. See, the thing, like again, A1 was talking that yak, but the same thing with the women is that when they hit 30 and they start to make that transcend down, the crow's feet, metabolism, the eggs start to dry up. All the shit they used to use to dangle goes away. But for us, yeah, we're all going to get old. I mean, that's the truth. We're all going to get old. But as a man, getting old has nothing to do with this. It's how wise you are. Because, like, white chocolates in the George Bruno, white chocolates in the he's case in point. He's smoother than the other side of the pillow. He could be 90 years old and still smash women.
Pretty smooth, brother.
Right. And hold the Saki's a beer or whatever, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying that's how the game goes, man. I want these guys to know that you are going to get older. You are, but don't look at a wall. Don't look at that. Only in death is when you hit that wall. As long as they can you can get wrinkles, they can take everything away from you. But one thing them bitches in the world can't take is your mindset, man.
Yeah, speaking of mindset, the real question is when did Genghis Khan hit the wall?
Dude, Genghis Khan never hit the wall. Dude, that fucking when he was dying. He was having a heart attack. I think there's like a study out there, and I'm not into studies, but apparently it's like 8% of the entire Chinese population has Genghis Khan's DNA. That's a lot of fucking people, dude. Like Genghis Khan was the original OG. Shout out to Hoki Bukisa with the $10 super chat. Says, I don't think men have a wall. I think men have a mountain to climb. This mountain has no summit, and you can climb it until your health declines too much. That's a very good point. DDJ, what say you?
I'm going to disagree. I think that men do have a wall, but I think that wall is based on their lifestyle choices. And so I'm going to kind of dovetail off of what Anthony said, and that is this. If you exercise, if you work out, and you treat your body healthfully, then I agree with everybody when it comes to this idea of having no wall. Because the idea is that, again, you look at Tom Cruise, you look at Brad Pitt. There was a bodybuilder in India, and the guy actually had great quality of life until he was 105 years old. And he was still walking around under his own power, doing his own thing, and he didn't have any major medical conditions. But I think that men who don't take care of themselves, they do hit the wall. And you see this in that, they don't do yoga, they don't stretch out, then they end up having lower back problems. They don't exercise, and then they try to do things and they go beyond what they should be doing. They break bones, and they hurt their knees and things like that. Or they end up having heart attacks early because they don't take care of themselves. Either they smoke too much, or they drink too much, or they do drugs, or they do things like that. So when it comes to a man's lifestyle choices, that will cause a man to hit the wall. But men who make healthy lifestyle choices, men who really focus on taking care of themselves and bettering themselves, even at advanced ages, those men don't hit the wall. And you see, like, a lot of people don't realize, but strength training, that's an old man's sport. I mean, I remember living in Washington State. We would get these guys where like 3 thugs would come and try to carjack this old guy. And this old guy, he would beat the piss out of all 3 of them. And he's like 60, 70 years old. I mean, you get to a point where it's like you realize that guy's not hitting the wall because he's taking care of himself. Plus, he's got all that extra wisdom to take care of himself. So, yeah. And I think like what Anthony says, a lot of these older guys, George Bruno, case in point, takes care of himself. He's smarter. He's been through a few things in life. Steve the Dean Williams, same thing. Been through a lot of things in his life. And now the steel is sharper because of it. But if you don't take care of yourself, if you are living unhealthy lifestyles, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, and you're not exercising and you're not stretching, that's a problem. So yeah, I think that when it comes to that, I think a man's personal decisions absolutely can cause him to hit the wall. But other than that, then I agree with everybody else.
Yeah, George Bruno and his brother Tony Bruno both. I was actually at Tony Bruno's house recently last weekend at the beach. Me and my director went out there to check it out. I went to hit the beach and stuff. He has an amazing bachelor pad, but more important than that, he's like this. He's a bit younger than George Bruno. Bruno is like 59. Tony's like 56 or something. But both of them are killing it. Like George Bruno just posted a picture on his, he's getting back into strength training now and stuff on his Instagram. Dude, for 59, he's fucking killing it. Like fucking like jacked. Like there's plenty of girls like gawking over this guy, daddy issues or not, like they're loving it. Same thing with his brother. And his brother at 56 now, I think, he's actually looking at his first kid. Now that's a late age to start that, but he's at a point in his life where he's like seriously considering that, has been for a while, and he's set up to do it. on top of the cool ass bachelor plat and all this stuff and the life he's built and the body he's maintained too. Him and his brother are both in excellent shape. They take care of themselves and they have for a long time. And that's paying not just dividends, it's paying like compound interest. It's stacking over time, I think is what you're saying. That's kind of what I think DDJ's talking about here too. When you take care of yourself over time, that stacks on top of the experience as a man that you gain, the wisdom, the masculinity, the pain, the trauma, the success, the triumph. All that stuff accumulates over time. And then if you're not dead or dying and you keep your shit together, it works out really well, or it can, if you want it to.
I think you stepped away briefly.
Oh yeah, that's whatever. We'll keep chatting. A1 son, D1.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hop to phone calls soon here in a bit too, yeah?
Yeah, the phone lines are open, guys. If y'all want to call in, the number to call in, guys, get your crayons out and write this down. The number to call in is 914-205-5356. If you're outside the U.S., just dial 0001 and dial 914-205-5356. The lines are open, gentlemen.
Fuck yeah. Hey, Robbie, let's hop to you for a second too while Donovan's gone. What are you planning to talk about at the Poland convention? I haven't seen you in a while, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a few years. I'm still trying to kind of find a good topic, but I think it's going to be something around this topic, actually, around hitting the wall, what to do. 'Cause I'm 37, and all of my friends that are, blue pill guys, they're all married with kids. And there's part of me that's like, I see that, and I'm like, oh, fuck, it'd be nice to have some kids, or it'd be nice to, have that life, because I've been living such a fast lifestyle the last 6 or 7 years, especially last year, where I was just basically partying nonstop. And I think I counted 67 girls last year.
There you go.
Yeah, it was, it was aggressive, but it was a lot of partying and just a lot of nonsense. And I didn't get a lot of work done. So it wasn't a sustainable lifestyle for sure.
He said, I love it.
Robbie Kramer's taking care of the environment. He's in sustainability now.
Yeah.
That green pimp lifestyle. Jesus.
So yeah, I mean, I've been kind of playing around with the question, how old do I want to be when I have my first kid? Because, I want to be able to play ball with him and kind of be that dad that my dad was for me, playing sports and doing awesome shit like that. At the same time, I don't think I could ever go to that lifestyle where I'm just totally monogamous and, with one girl who eventually gets old and gray and just basically put my balls in a jar. That's not really an option either.
Jesus, I'm just saying, this is great. Putting balls in a jar to get old and gray. Holy fuck.
915-5356. That is the number to call if you want to get onto the conversation. Robbie brings up an interesting point. Passing on your legacy. Now, each of you, Robbie, you don't have any kids yet.
Nope.
Steve's got kids. DDJ has kids. Here's the thing. Anthony does not have children, but he wants them one day. I don't want kids. I don't think I ever have. And I don't know if that's just, maybe I'm just weird. But I've never felt the desire, a strong desire to pass on my genes and my legacy. Maybe one of those reasons is because I have two brothers and two sisters, right? And I've got three nieces and two nephews. So the Sharpe family name is going to be passed on one way or the other. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but Anthony, what are your thoughts on men who don't want kids? And more importantly, why do you feel such a strong desire to pass on your genes, pass on your legacy?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. That's some deep ass shit.
I tried.
I've given some thought, not a lot, to men and women both. Well, it's separate too. I think men not wanting to have children and a legacy is different from women. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am on that. And I think there's different motivations that are going to drive. There's different, every human being has an individual personality and stuff like that. But sure. I do think there's fundamental differences between men and women, obviously, in particular with this question. With the men, I do find it kind of strange, to put it very bluntly and very simply, to not want to pass on your legacy as a living, breathing organism who, obviously someone did it for you. Right. Does that mean you should be guilt tripped though into having children if you don't want to? Absolutely not.
All the time, dude. Donovan, when am I gonna have grandbabies? I'm like, Mom, I'm almost 50.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Sock had his first kid at 49.
Yeah, right.
Recently. She's beautiful, baby girl. Is a great met her.
Beautified.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of odd to see a living, breathing, organism, a human being, walk around and not want to reproduce like deliberately. It's strange, and I think it's going to be probably pretty unique to human beings. But I also firmly believe that no one should have kids if they don't want to have kids. That's a hell no. It's very much like desire. We talk about genuine desire, natural desire between men and women.
Right.
First of all, the best sex of your life is going to be with a girl who fucking wants it and wants it really, really, really bad, and you want it really bad too, and you both just fucking go at it and you fight to the bitter end about who's going to fucking pound who, right?
Right.
Into oblivion and submission and have all this fun.
Hate fucking.
But yeah, hate fucking or not, or whatever the case is. There's different variations of this, but it's the same thing. It's very similar with actually producing. Yeah, it's one theme of several. But with kids, I firmly believe that no one should have kids if they don't want to. But I do think also that some men, Socrates, he grappled with this question for a long time. He's talked about it in several speeches at the convention. And in the end, he thanked me. He thanked me in the 21 convention specifically, which was kind of a mindfuck, for the existence of his child. And he's like very specific about this and real raw as fuck with it.
How about that?
Which was never, of course, this was never a goal of mine. I was like, oh, I'm going to I'm going to manipulate Socrates and having a baby. Like, I didn't fucking tell him to do this. He just went.
Your homeboy.
Yeah, I guess just being around me and being around the convention and the different events and the different relationships and friendships and brotherhood he's built, it eventually motivated him to fucking do it.
Right.
As far as me personally, so my thoughts with that are still developing with men. With women, though, I think it's very odd. I think motherhood can be very central to men. First of all, I think it's a super high expression of masculinity, but motherhood is also, I think, even more integral to a girl becoming a woman and to expressing her femininity over time. I think it's a great tragedy if women don't go on to have kids, assuming that she's genetically normal. She doesn't have some birth defect that she doesn't want to pass on, which, hey, that's totally legit. If you're born with something you don't want to pass on and you think it's very real and scientifically sound, then don't do it if that's what you want to do. But for women, I think so that's what feminism promotes too, though. They attack traditional motherhood. They attack almost any motherhood outside of single motherhood. They attack women, being housewives, being basically embracing motherhood, just like Tanner Guzzi's wife. Tanner Guzzi's wife, her Instagram says making babies and cookies, I think, which is like the best Instagram bio ever for a chick, in my opinion. Right. But there's so, right. So I think it's even weirder for women, though. And it's a very specific outcome of feminism affecting women in a very toxic way. It's fucking retarded. And what happens is all these women eventually, they figure this out at like fucking 39. And they're like, oh, I never have babies. Oh, fuck, I was fucking around on Tinder for the past 17 years. Yeah, right. I'm heartbroken 87 times. It's like, yeah, well, choices have consequences, bitch. And now you're about to hit the 40 wall and you don't have any kids. And now you're feeling like you have a barren womb and your cats are nipping at your toes, ready to eat you if you fucking die of alcohol poisoning. Like, this is not cool. But men have a much longer window too. And that's why your choice to not want to have kids now, that maybe you'll keep the rest of your life. Dude, the consequences of that are much more fluid. You might change your mind like Socrates did, 11 years from now or 9 years from now or whatever the fuck. At the end of the day too, it's your life as a man. You're much more, as a man, it's much more important for you. It's vastly more important to be in command of your own life. And I don't think women want to be in command of their lives. They want a man to follow and to lead them. And that's part of what I think motherhood does for them. As far as wanting kids myself, I mean, holy fuck, I don't want to keep rambling here indefinitely.
Oh, no, go ahead.
That's a huge question too, though, in itself, that I'm still working on. I'm trying to understand as best I can. I would say my most, I think I mentioned this briefly before in the Red Man group, but my most fundamental position on it, very personal on this, is extremely personal. I had a large family growing up. I grew up in a large family. There would have been 5 of us. My mom had a miscarriage later in life, so it was 4 of us. Myself, my older sister, you guys have met at the convention a couple times, a brother who's been to the convention once, and a younger sister too, who's pregnant now, actually with the first child out of 4 of us. She's due in a few months in September now. But we had this large family growing up, and we had like a skeleton of like a very positive, strong nuclear family, very similar thing to what Tanner's doing, but it was extremely violent, toxic, chaotic, and just insane. Absolute fucking batshit crazy. Kind of like growing up in the ghetto, but with a lot of money as well, and volatility. It was just insanity. So it was the appearance of like a healthy nuclear family, the skeleton framework of it, but the total absence of empathy and love and connection and positivity and stuff. There was still some positive things in it. It wasn't all negative. It's bullshit.
Right.
But it was definitely bottom 20% of the population. And most people that you hear about having bad families, it's rare. I do meet people that have gone through some similar circumstances or worse. But for the most part, most people think they went through a bad experience growing up. It's like total bullshit. Their understanding of a fight or an argument or, you know, bad vibes in a family is like, it's just like, it's nowhere near as bad as you think it is. And they don't have their perspective on it. I grew up dodging knives, scissors, fists. I saw my dad shoot up 4 raccoons once at 2 a.m. A bunch of cops came out. I mean, all kinds of insane shit growing up.
Jesus Christ.
My mom's my mom's an enabler for this too, right? She continued to have children with this fucking crazy asshole. And at this point in my life, I'm starting to hold her accountable. Long story short, though, what Tanner Guzzi's doing, the Hunter's doing, is fucking amazing. Like, these men are proud patriarchs, they're strong leaders of their family, they take no bullshit, and they leave their family and they build their family. Tanner's still going, and I think Hunter's going to eventually have more kids too. This is my suspicion. Me and Socrates are hatching a plan to make this happen. But I did see something very positive, is what my point is here with this. Even though it's a very bad personal experience, my gut instinct is that the opposite is true, that framework was a signal that there's something very positive to this. And it's worth pursuing, whether it's like Robbie said, playing ball with your kid, or building a much larger family like Tanner's doing, or anything in between that. I like what Steve's done too. He has a bunch of kids too. These children have influenced his life in a super positive way. And he's been able to do that for them too, as a leader of his family and all that, and being the man fucking mindset. So I see something extremely positive with it. I think that building a family or reproducing, period, having children, is quite literally how the human race continues. Right. And it's a life-affirming positive choice that most men, I think, should make if they want to, you know, look into it and make that decision for themselves. And I think that's what they should do. And they should not do it otherwise, like I said, too. You should never fucking have kids through some guilt trip bullshit from your parents or anybody. And rent.
All right, Steve, what you got on this, brother?
Yeah, I want to say, like, and again, Donovan, you know, as a man, you don't want to have kids. As a man, I can only respect that because you're coming from a view from a man's perspective. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the thing is that what frustrates me for a lot of people out there, because again, I'm a 70s baby, just like DDJ. I'm 1971. I'm a 70s baby.
77 right here, brother.
You're back then. See, before the internet, it was your name, man. Your name meant everything to you. Your name was your calling card. Your name is what you stood on. Your name is how you approach women. Your name is how you check women when they got out the fucking got sidebar with you. It was your name that they looked at. It was your name that they feared. It was your name that they praised. It was your name that they went after. But what happened was, I really feel like the internet itself has done a lot of damage to a lot of these kids, because there are a lot of false prophets out there that even tell you not to even mess with single mothers because he had a fucking bad situation with some kids and shit. You know, you got people out there. Now look, if you don't want to have kids, like A1 said, don't have kids. If you don't want to have a legacy, don't have one. But what pisses me off is when these young boys who don't even know themselves follow these motherfuckers who don't know shit about themselves. Then they scare these young boys into saying, you know what? No, you don't get married and don't have kids. It's a terrible thing. And these young boys are poisoned without even learning that, you know what? If you're, and again, I'm not trying to scare nobody, but your great-great-grandfather thought like your ass wouldn't even be here. But the reason you are here is because he wanted his name to go on through his father and your father, you know, on and on and on. And like A1 said, you don't have to have kids if you want. If you are adamant about that, be adamant about that. But do it like you doing it, Donovan. You're a motherfucking man. As a man, you know who you are. You know where you stand, and you know what life's about. A lot of these young boys don't know what life is about. They don't know manhood. They don't know goddamn themselves, right? So then they go on YouTube and follow some asshole who's never a fucking man in the first place. He fucking peed sitting down, no goddamn spine, and no fucking balls, telling these motherfucking kids don't have kids. Right. You're doing it. That's where my problem is. the disservice. Allow these young boys to grow. Allow these young boys to turn into young men, to men, and then, like you, Donovan, make the decision. You know what? I don't want kids because I don't want to have kids. Fuck that. I don't want to. And I can respect that. But when you say, well, I don't want to have kids because
neither should you.
Right, because such and such said on a YouTube show that if I have a kid, then the court system's going to do this and the government. Man, fuck all that stupid ass shit. That's the kind of shit that back in our day, you get your ass kicked over that little cake ass shit. I'm serious. Y'all, the internet has done a lot of damage, and all I'm saying is this. I'll get off my soapbox. If you don't want to have kids, don't have them. But what I'm saying is before you make that decision, know what it means to be a man first. When you know what it means to be a man, then you can make the proper decisions what's best for you. But once you know your name, like say Donovan, you know what your name is about.
Right.
You know it, and Anthony knows what his name. Everybody on this fucking panel knows what their name is, but the majority of the guys listen to us have no idea the meaning of their last name. So they're blindly following people who are trying to tell them, oh, don't have kids. And that shit pisses me the fuck off. But I mean, I'm just saying, but now shut the fuck up. But y'all got it.
I like it. I like it. That's very good. DDJ, what are your thoughts? You've got 4 kids. What are your thoughts on men who decide not to have children?
You know what? I actually promote that. And I guess I'm one of them people that Steve the Dean Williams is talking about. And let me explain why though. So like, unlike many men, I didn't just get butthurt and decide, oh, no man should have kids. That's not where I'm coming from. Right. I am one example of many. But the thing that I would say is this. I think that, well, there are many things I say on my channel, but one of the things I say is this. The relationship is over when the investment is gone. It's not when she leaves. Okay? So with that in mind, I think that men who don't want to have children, no, they shouldn't. But I don't think that men need to make that decision. I agree with Steve about boys. And there are a lot of boys out there who cosplay as men. And we have a lot of false prophets in the manosphere. Okay? We have a lot of them. And we have a lot of these guys who they cosplay red pill, and they're not. They're not at all. And so you see them. They're these cuck dudes. They're paying for pussy because if they didn't have cash strapped around their neck, they couldn't get the time of day. And some of these guys are super fit. Some of these guys have they not only have a lot of money, they're super successful, but they're blue pilled as fuck. And so when it comes to those types of things, that for me is an issue. Now I would say this, that if you don't want to have children, you need to pay attention to your sperm. Women lie about birth control. That's right. So while you're out there hunting, you need to understand something. 40% of women in the Western society are lying about birth control. They're either not taking their pills all the time, or their whore plant has gone out of date, or they say they're on an IUD but they don't have one. Because what's happened is that they got that baby rabies going. But I agree with Steve completely in saying, look, you need to grow the fuck up. I mean, look, I'm a man going my own way. That's my own choice, but it's not a choice that I think every man should do in all circumstances. And it's also something that bothers me where I see these children who are under 18, these young boys who are acting like tweens, who are like, I'm MGTOW for life. And it's like, nah, you don't even know what life is. Your balls barely dropped. I mean, Jesus Christ. How are you going to be able to make a decision when you're not even old enough to vote, let alone legally buy alcohol? Come on now.
I can tag on here to both DDJ and Steve. Like when I say I want to build a big family and do all these things, I'm doing that with my eyes wide open at how incredibly unprecedented dangerous that is in new ways, right? It's always been, throughout human history, it's been difficult or dangerous most of the time, if not all the time, to have children, to raise a family, whether it's the fucking Dark Ages or World War II or whatever, anything in between or before that. But now we're facing new challenges right now. I agree that are very serious in the family court system and child custody and divorce and feminism and all this shit. And so when I say these things, I'm doing that with full awareness of how fucking dangerous that is. I mean, I literally married a fucking, almost, not legally, but I literally had a wedding with a prostitute in Vegas. Like that's how fucking much I fucked this up, but survived. And I survived because I listened to the manosphere to a large extent. I listened to the men's rights activists. And I avoided, for example, in that instance, getting legally married because I knew how fucking crazy it was as a legal contract and a business arrangement. I was like, this is fucking dumb beyond dumb. Why the fuck would I do this? Is this good for anybody? And if she wants that, if she forces it, she's a piece of shit anyway.
Right.
So then we didn't do that. And then I financially hooked her and left. But,
and let me state the opposite as well. Like, I wanted children at a young age. And so I had kids at a young age. And while all my decisions while I was blue pill at least had that gynocentric blind spot, they weren't necessarily the best decisions as related to manosphere wisdom. However, you know, I did win custody both times. They were hell of a fight, you know, both occasions. But the thing is that, you know, men have to learn red pill wisdom, and there's no like one better tribe within the manosphere or one worse tribe in the manosphere. It's a question of, you know, how do you mitigate the negative possibilities and how do you fight that? Now, part of it is your frame. It's not only how you maintain your frame, but it's how you regain your frame. Because every woman, if she's with a man long enough, she will cause that man to come out of his frame. And so you have to be able to regain that frame in a credible way. And, you know, we all get caught slipping. I don't care what anybody says. We've all been caught slipping once or twice.
Of course.
So, right. So it's about regaining that frame, and it's about knowing your value. And I think that when she understands that you know your value, you're more likely to have a successful relationship. However, if life happens and you need her support and you become vulnerable, that's when your relationship becomes vulnerable. And so that's when you need to start thinking about the court system. You need to start thinking about false Me Too style allegations or, domestic violence allegations and domestic violence orders and things like that. All those things, they're real. They're not excuses. They're real. But the other side of it is, though, if you're a blue pill cuck and you're 3 steps back and 1 to the left of your woman, it's not if she's going to file a DV order against you or if she's going to try to silver bullet you in the divorce. It's when. Yeah. So you know you're on borrowed time at that point. And so, you know, having healthy masculinity and being able to maintain that relationship in a masculine way is extremely important. But I can tell you that at least in my set of circumstances, you know, my second wife, who I made wait 3 years after she proposed to me. I mean, we dated for 5 years. She was, you know, part of the Young Republicans Party. She was an officer. She was TradCon. She was all the things. When we got on our wedding day, she was all those things, right? When we divorced, she was a card-carrying feminist and a Democrat. So people change, and you have to understand. That's why I say, you know, not all the time are things permanent, but you if you want children, then you need to figure out ways as a man to do it in such a way that you can mitigate the risks. And if you don't want children, well, that's up to you too. Again, it's like red pill, like I said the last time I was on, red pill is a knowledge and an education. What each man chooses to do with it is his own choice. But don't run around and cosplay being red pill online when you can't live that way in real life. Because the reality is that makes you no better than a dishonest feminist.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, I think the big thing to really watch out for is there's this kind of like toxic idea out there that, you know, once you have kids, once you get married, for men, it's like, all right, well, I'm done, you know, had my kid. And then they kind of just let themselves go, a lot of these guys. And they become, you know, they basically cuck themselves, and eventually either their wife cheats on them or they just end up fat, gross, totally out of the game. So if you're going to have kids, just remember, like, you know, you still have to keep yourself up and maintain that, you know, the mindset, because otherwise you're just going to end up in a really shitty situation, which is what I see with most of the guys out there. All the guys I know from college, they just totally cuck themselves, and they don't even see it coming.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You're your own worst enemy. And then that's not only bad for you, it's obviously bad for your relationship. The chick's going to hate it. And then it's a super bad example for your children. So it's like shitty, like start to finish.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Now, Donna.
Yes. Nope. Yes. Yeah, nobody wins in that situation when dad lets himself go. And, you know, it's interesting. You guys have given me some things to think about. No, I'm not going to have kids. But I think the reason why I've decided not to have children is not because I don't want children. It's just because of the current environment. it just, to me, it's just not worth it. And I think another big factor as far as that's concerned is I'm a selfish guy. I like the life that I live. I like the idea of being able to go to bed when I want to and wake up when I want to. I like the idea of not having to think about a child anytime I make a decision. I like the idea that I can get up and travel anytime I want and make that unilateral decision. A lot of people say that, listen, having children is definitely worth it. But I don't know, maybe I'm just cut from a different cloth, and who knows, man? Listen, man, I'm still a relatively young guy. I'll be 42 next month. Socrates changed his mind at 49. Maybe I'll change mine. I don't know.
Well, the reason he changed his mind is he kept hanging out with the dream. So keep speaking, Donovan. You're gonna end up like Socrates, man. You Socrates and be like, have little babies and shit.
Oh my God, we definitely can't.
I don't know why. I just spread the love, man. I can't help it. Just do what I do.
Spread the love, spread the seed, guys. The phone lines are still open. We're gonna round third and head for home and wrap this puppy up. I forget which one of you talked about your mother. Was it you, Robbie? Somebody talked about
That was probably me.
Oh, it was you. It was you, Anthony.
Yeah, maybe someone else, but I did it briefly in mine. Yeah.
Okay, I'll actually start this question off with you. In terms of red pill awareness, how difficult is it for men to understand that red pill truth applies to the women that they love, their mothers, sisters, their aunts, their grandmothers, etc.?
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure it can be difficult. I think that's what the specifics of the question you just asked. I'll tell you right now, it's taken until 30 years old to really hold my mother accountable in a red pill lens type of thing. And my grandmother's as well, but that was much less difficult. I knew both of my grandmothers, especially my maternal grandmother, who was really like a primary caregiver to me and my older sister growing up. She was actually, I'd say, the reason that my older sister and I live in Orlando or living productive adult lives. And my younger siblings are not. Drugs, alcohol, prison time, all kinds of really bad shit. So yeah, I would say it took a long ass time. It really took those 30 years old to really start wrapping my head around like what the real mechanics of her decisions were and responsibility and accountability over a lifetime. And these are like very deep issues in my head and I think most men would be like that. If you had a relationship with your mother growing up over your whole lifetime, she was part of your life and not out of it. It's one of the final straws in taking the red pill. It's one of the final, I think, decisions or rabbit holes you have to go down. And so one of the things you can look at too, is it's not talked about, is women have rampant daddy issues today. But I think with feminism and the blue pill, that a lot of men have mommy issues. This is like real shit. And this does not get talked about in the manosphere enough because it's very embarrassing. It's not just embarrassing, it's a very sensitive or delicate issue and nuanced and complex. And it's not easy to introspect and just navigate through it like, oh, haha. Just with a girl, once you take the red pill, you've had some experience, some sabotage shit you've seen. Applying the red pill and viewing female behavior in specific situations gets easier and easier over time. But a relationship that runs much deeper with your female parent, that's as deep as it gets. Your DNA is half that woman. Like you are, half of who you are comes from that woman. So it's difficult to hold them accountable. It's difficult to view their decisions objectively and with as little bias as possible. But the more you can do that, I think the more you can heal from those issues and the more you can live a better, more masculine life. I think there's a saying that I've seen somewhere, maybe Steve, I feel like Steve the Dean can comment on this, but it's like a man separating from his mother and, not taking her orders anymore, or anything like that is like the final straw in becoming, one of the final straws in becoming a man is taking complete ownership of your life and complete command of it. Both, with relation to both parents, but particularly with the mother, who I think mothers are going to have much more, it's like women have soft power, men have hard power. And you see that expressed in parent relationships for good health or bad healthy or bad, low health relationships too. But mothers exercise soft power control over their children for better and for worse, and fathers exercise hard power usually.
Right.
So I think that's another reason why it's a very touchy subject in the manosphere to touch on mommy issues. But I can guarantee you, like the majority of dudes in the red pill, for example, just in the red pill, never mind other shit, have real mommy issues that go unresolved for decades. It's CPTSD, it's trauma, it's unresolved kind of issues in your mind, experiences, not holding people accountable. Like people say you should forgive your parents for anything and everything. And I think you should have immense leeway with blood family ties, 100%. But that, those ties are not indefinite and they do have limits. Some obvious examples are like rape, molestation, incest, murder, shit like that. But it's not just these super obvious things. It's other things too. It's extreme violence. It's, elongated over decades. It's failure to take, accountability for their own decisions that affect young children. An abandonment of maternal instincts to protect your children, for example. That's what I realized in my own mother. It's really savage ass shit that people don't want to talk about, especially in public, but you do what you got to do. And the better you can do it and the more calmly you can do it and be at peace with it, the better. Whether or not you forgive them or hold them accountable and say you're not forgiving.
Yeah, that's anybody's guess, right?
Yeah, and you got to make that call for yourself. No one can make that call for you. Not a relative, not a friend, not a fucking therapist. Nobody. You have to make that call, and it's serious shit. And you'll get pushback from people because these are beliefs that run deeper than religion, even in some ways deeper than religion and politics and culture. I mean, family ties and beliefs about family are almost as deep as it gets as a human being. Just short of your beliefs about existence, birth, death, shit like that.
DDJ,
monologue.
Dad?
Yeah. So here's the thing. And I'm going to monologue a little bit too, because, Anthony touched on some things that I'm probably going to be making some videos about, but they're definitely things that need to be discussed. Men, you see a lot of videos from men in the manosphere, and they, talk about maintained frame. They talk about all the different manosphere things, regardless of what tribe you're a part of. But one of the things that most content creators don't do is they don't respect the fact that men are emotional creatures as well. We have emotional needs. We don't just need to empty our ball sack. We need to be emotionally supported. We need to be nurtured. We need to be cared for. And we all have, the full gamut of emotions, just like women do. And we have the same types of triggers. So we have our emotional needs that need to be met. So when it comes to mommy issues, the thing is that if a mother doesn't nurture her son, that son will have mommy issues.
Yeah.
When the mother nurtures her son, those men are stronger because she is living the example that she needs the young boy to see in a woman. In fact, I remember old school. I remember older women, they would counsel young men, stay away from certain types of women. And what were those certain types of women? They were feminist thoughts.
Yes.
That's what back in the day when I was a kid, that's what the maternal figures around me were saying. Now we fast forward and we have a lot of men who are millennials who they were raised in single parent households. They were children of feminism. They were children of broken homes. They've had a lot of challenges, right? Well, unfortunately, a lot of those men are now bitch thinkers, right? And it's so common that even some male bathrooms now have tampons for cucks, manginas, and male feminists.
Stop it. You better,
right?
dude.
I know I'm not. This is not hashtag the onion. This is real. You can Google that shit. I'm telling you. Okay. Unreal. Yeah. It's for the mangina, cuck, and male feminist periods because they're bitch thinkers. That's just the reality. So the thing is, the reason that I bring this up and the reason that this is so important is because feminine thinkers backstab men. They are the enemies of man. When you go out of your way and you're doing what you can to be scandalous and everything else, it's like what Steve said earlier, right? About he was talking about just different things, about saying shit that will get your ass whooped. Let me tell you something. Nothing will get your ass whooped quicker than trying to scandalously scheme behind the backs of the people that you called friends. Because I'll tell you what, they will activate your health plan. They will. And they will use up your entire out-of-pocket expenses for it.
Right.
Okay. And leave you on the ground to bleed out. So when you see this, the problem that you have to understand is that a lot of these men who do this shit, they talk a big game, but they can't back it up. Everybody wants to be a red pill man until it's time to do red pill shit. Now, where am I going with this? Conflict resolution. Every real man, especially older men like myself and Steve and you, Donovan, we've all been through storms in life. And some of those storms, they've taken their toll. They've knocked us down, but we had to stand back up. You fall down 8 times, you get up 9.
That's right.
Right? But that's how men solve conflict. When you see hurricanes happening, and everybody's running away, there's a group of men who are running toward the danger. And the reason they're doing that is because they know there's conflict there. Yet in the manosphere, when there are bitch thinkers and manginas and covert male feminist cucks, and they're being cucks for bucks, right? And they're trying to promote their own personal brand at the expense of anybody else. Not that I'm saying anybody, or not that I'm calling out any certain, heroin bitch meth head with a hoodie or nothing. All I'm saying is like, when you see this, and these men don't know how to handle conflict, they can't speak up like men. So they gotta be a woman in the bathroom stall, especially one of them tampons in it. They gotta suck other dudes' dicks to get those other dudes to white knight for them. And so at the end of the day, what happens is that men solve conflict. We do. We solve conflict. And so when you have healthy emotions, when you have that emotional need that's net met, and you don't have mommy issues, you don't shy away from the storm. You stand against the storm. You stand against the tornado. You stand against the bitch thinkers and the cucks and the male feminists and all the people that want to tear you down, because it is feminine men who are jealous of masculine men. And rather than work on themselves like the bitch thinkers they are, they have to externalize their thing, and they can't take accountability for their own misconduct. So when you talk about this is a huge issue. It's not only in the manosphere. You see it all over YouTube. You see this projection. You see the male feminine gaslighting that happens. You see all this stuff. So these things are important. Now I'm not going to kick on that anymore, but I'm just going to say this. These things are important to discuss because men are emotional creatures, even alpha men, even masculine men, even strong men. All of us, myself included, we are emotional creatures and we have emotional needs. And so when we take care of ourselves and take care of those emotional needs, whether it's through a woman or through friendships or through whatever, we are better able to handle life's conflicts. And the way that you can see a feminine man is either A, they go behind everybody's back and they start talking shit like a bitch, or B, they falsely accuse people of shit and they got zero evidence behind them.
This is savage.
So all I'm saying is that, look, if you need that tampon and you're one of those men, there are bathrooms there for you.
Jesus Christ.
But if you want some healthy masculinity, the Red Man Group is here for you.
There you go. Good God, I couldn't have said that.
Bring it home. Damn, son.
Hilarious.
You can follow that up.
Steve?
You forgot C, drive nice cars, but bitch about single mothers as well. Yeah, I mean. Real quick, what I want to say is to y'all guys out there is, for all guys, y'all got to learn, love your mom, but never relate to her.
There you
go. A lot of guys don't understand the first rule of a king is sacrifice, meaning sometimes you got to do things for the betterment of yourself. When you were living with your mother, by the time you're in her belly, by the time you leave her house, she is the only one that can tell you when to go to school, when to wake up, what time to eat, what time to go to bed. That's her law because you're under her roof. But once you get out of her house and you become your own man, you are no longer, or you don't have to abide by any of her rules. See, for a lot of guys out there, again, I related. I love my mom, you know what I mean? But I don't relate to her because I cut the umbilical cord a long time ago. And a lot of guys don't do that because mom still runs their life. Mom still tells you who to date. A lot of you guys might want to date black men. They might not want to date. They can't date an Asian woman or a white woman because they're afraid of what their family's going to think about them. Right. You know what I say? Fuck you. Fuck you and your family. You know why? Because let me tell you something. As a goddamn man, you're going to respect every law, rule, and code I make. And if you can't live by my law, rule, and code, then I'm going to have to let you go. And like Anthony was saying, this is what I call no tolerance. I don't have time to justify every move that I make to my parents, my great parents, and my brothers and sisters. Either you're going to agree on what I'm doing or fuck you. And I don't mean to be mean, but I just keep things 1,000. I don't have time to sit around like a 30-minute episode of the Brady Bunch trying to tell everybody sorry and we all happy, kumbaya. Fuck that, man. That's not how we do things as men. We don't do that kind of shit. But like DDJ was saying, the problem is our greatest enemy, and this is the worst part about this, mom and women, I think, have taken a second seat to our greatest enemy now. our greatest enemy are, like DDJ was saying, these manginas that bleed between their legs.
Oh God, yes.
These motherfuckers are just like mommy. Think about mommy for a second. They're always
Facts, son. Facts.
They're always blaming. They're always problematic. They're always making excuses. They're always not trying to set boundaries. And you know, I'm gonna use A1 because that's my motherfucking road dog. Just like these motherfuckers. See, just like women hate being second fiddle to success. Same with these motherfucking bitch ass guys. You see a motherfucker being successful, and as a woman, you want to try to stop his success.
Yep.
You want to try to talk shit to him. And then when a man bites back, then you want to cower and say, wait a second, why are you being mean to me?
Right. Well, you're being rude. You're coming up aggressively.
Oh, no. Listen. Don't wave that white flag now. That ass whooping's coming for you.
Like DDJ, like you said before. Oh no, we're gonna see you at 3 o'clock high, motherfucker.
At the flagpole after school.
Right, at the school.
We're gonna see you where I see you.
Yeah, it's not me. It's gonna be see you where I see you type shit. Cause see, like I tell y'all guys on the internet, see y'all young pups on the internet, y'all don't know what the real streets are like. And the real streets have came on to the internet now. So real is real, but to sum all this up, this is why it's important to listen to men on this panel. Yes, we all come from different areas, but all we're trying to do is unlock the man in you and show you, as long as you listen and follow the guidance and think and stay away from the poisonous, feminine, bleeding motherfuckers that sit around and say, read my fucking book and goddamn it, drive my car, single mothers ain't shit, motherfuckers, and body language and all that shit. Go ahead and do that shit. But guess what? These women gonna see you as weak, punk ass motherfuckers. And you think your mom was something? Wait till you pull that umbilical cord out of mom and attach it to a woman and watch it when she smack you in the fucking face, beat the shit out of you. Then you're gonna be coming to us, falling back, wondering.
You're gonna strangle you with this.
That should be firing me up. Sorry,
Steve just secured the yellow dollar sign for this episode.
That was holy fuck. No, I have nothing to add.
Yeah, I was gonna say anything to add to that. Robbie, what are your final thoughts on that?
Fuck, how do you go after that? I don't really have a whole lot.
Right.
Maybe just the whole idea is like, you're not a fucking man if you don't know your own values. And if you're living how your fucking mom wants you to live, or your wife or whoever, you're not a man. You're just some fucking follower boy. So get to know your fucking values, figure out what those are, and stick with them. And if they're shit, then change them. But that's what this channel is for, and that's what basically we're helping guys do, is figure out their values. Don't get sucked down this bullshit rabbit hole of listening to these manginas, and you'll be able to stand on your own 2 feet and become an adult.
Well said. We're gonna leave it right there, guys. This was a very, very good episode. We talked about a lot of different things. Let's go around the room. Let's go around the panel one last time and talk about what we have going on this coming week. Anthony, I'm gonna start with you.
Yeah, so it's a bit late, but tickets are still on sale if you want to come out to the 21 convention of Warsaw, Poland, our first Polish event, and our 4th European 21 convention. That event starts July 18th to the 21st. Okay, cool. Check my audio here. Beyond that, we put out my speech last weekend too. The future is still masculine, where I unveiled for the first time ever this hat at the convention in 2018. That talk's kicking ass. That had a huge viewership so far and everything. Everybody's loving it. And it was cool to see that feedback. Obviously, there's a lot of combat, a lot of conflict going on right now in the manosphere. That talk, I was very proud of it. I put it together, gave it to the world, and I'm happy to see it go out and start influencing the manosphere and men very positively. And I think it's the strongest. Even the Medusa one was larger and stronger, but so far, this talk is like the first. It's the most potent content speech I think I've ever put out. The future is still masculine, and men are really appreciating that my thoughts in it and the leadership I provided in that speech. So that was cool. We're still putting out a bunch of talks and stuff. We have a badass interview that is a big surprise for everybody. That'll be going out probably today or tomorrow with Goldman Unleashed in New York City. I interviewed him for over a half hour.
Oh, cool.
It's got infield footage. It's got me getting kicked out of the coffee shop. I mean, it's a fucking wild episode. It's great. And that's coming out. It's super high quality too. And then beyond that, everybody get tickets to the 21 Convention 2019 of Orlando, Florida. Coming to Orlando, our home city, founding city, October 24 to October 27, 2019. The lineup is fucking epic. Right up there with Warsaw, Poland coming up soon. Biggest event of the year, Woodstock with the fucking Manosphere, and event to change the world.
All right, Steve, what you got going on this week?
Let's see here. Monday, the Red Pill Mindset Show. We're going to be talking about time. Stop wasting your goddamn time. That's what we're going to be talking about on Monday. Also, in between that, guys, make sure y'all sign up to my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Man Mindset, where I will do some riding with the deans, where I do Q&A while I'm driving. And also, make sure you get your goddamn tactical soap and you bitches, your man fucking maxi pad. Legs. Y'all need to. And also, last thing I want to say is all you young men, listen to these motherfucking guys on this panel. They have your best heart, your interest at heart, and they want to help you grow. Subscribe to everybody's channel. Keep the movement going. Tell 5 of your motherfucking friends about this and make this motherfucker strong. That's all I want to say, man.
All right, Robbie.
Yeah, so I've got a podcast. It's called the Leverage Podcast, and I've got a great guest coming on this week, Dr. Robert Glover from No More Mr. Nice Guy. And this is, I think, going to be our 106th episode. So that's, I release that every week on iTunes. You just go to innerconfidence.com and you can find out about the Leverage Podcast. So I'm just, doing that every week, and I'm looking forward to coming out to Warsaw. It's going to be fun.
Excellent, excellent. DDJ, what you got on tap this week?
All right. So this week, what I've got going on is I'm actually trying to get my new website live at misandrytoday.com so that it is more of a destination spot than the landing page that it used to be. So a lot of my efforts are going to be focused on that. Now, what I'm thinking is when it does get released and it does go live, it'll still be portions of it under construction, but I'm kind of pushing to make that happen for this week. In addition to that, now that I'm no longer traveling, there's going to be a lot more content on my channel. I think it's time to actually put out the canons of masculine men, which are kind of the rules that I live by that I want to share with other people. In addition to that, I talked previously about doing a video on Elizabeth Warren and on what I believe might be a valid solution to her as far as holding her accountable for some of the things that she's done. And then in addition to that, I'm looking at doing a couple other videos just to kind of deal with some of the manosphere. Because I really think that a lot of the things about what in the red pill community, there are a lot of things that men can learn from. And one of those things is that steel sharpens steel. And so sometimes we as men have to deal with adversity. And so taking out the trash is a whole lot different than dealing with drama. And I think the problem that we have a lot of times in the manosphere is that men don't know the difference, especially a lot of men who are new to manosphere red pill wisdom. They don't know the difference between unwarranted drama or life's conflicts. And if you can't handle conflict, then you can't call yourself red pill. You just can't do it, because red pill is the uncomfortable truth. So I'm going to be putting out a video about that this week as well. And I've also got some great her stories I'm going to be releasing this week also on my channel, Miss Andrew Today. So there you go.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, this week, I'm going to set off a few alarm bells. I'm doing interracial relationship week, which should be interesting to be sure. So be sure to tune in for that. That's going to be Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. And then, of course, I have my Patreon show Monday through Thursday evenings at 6:30. Gentlemen, Anthony, Steve, Robbie, DDJ, it was great to have you guys on today. Thank you, audience, for watching the Red Man group. Give me 1 second. Let me give a quick shout out to our super chatters. Hoki Bukisa with the $10 super chat. We appreciate that very much. There might have been one more. If I forget about it, forgive me, but we will see you guys here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, we'll see you next week.